Ooh, new intros and everything.
Love it.
Welcome back to the Team Nerd Herd podcast, where our best advice is if you want to do it right, collect what you like. But on this segment of Drop with the Mic, it's collect what you read what you collect, and all in between. With me today, you guys, we're bringing back Dropping the Mic. I'm super happy. Your boys got a chance to read, but who better to bring it back than the mayor, my brother, my friend, my compadre, my comic book lover, anything else I should say. He's just close to my heart, guys. It is none other than Justin No Good Comics. My brother, thank you.
What up, Steve?
Let's crack. And see, I need to get me one of those. Like
Yeah,
right
man,
after I need to be like, or when JR just gets into conversation, like with his grumpy ways, I just need to go, yeah, just that's it. You did a good job.
Good job.
We're gonna call it quits right now.
Moving on. Yeah. Oh man, no, dude, I am so excited to talk. Well, one, just to be here, Steve, because I mean, it's been a little while since you and I have been able to stream like this and talk about books that we love, and a lot of that I blame on football, because you know me, my Sundays, I'm like, Steve, I'll see you next year, because I got to watch my football on Sundays, so that's kind of. That's been where I'm at, but where this Sunday's been the Pro Bowl, so I don't really care for the Pro Bowl. So it kind of worked out. I remember you hitting me up. I mean, still months ago, we were like, so when is it that we can like schedule this Sunday? And I'm like, well, the next time there's no real relevant football is this day, the 6th of February. You're like, book it, done. All right, got you locked in for February 6th. I'm like, let's do it. So I'm pumped. The times flew by now, and now that football's like over after next Sunday, then I'll be doing a lot more streaming in general. So
the way to book you, man, is just to tackle you like football, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You're like the 6. I got you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
wrap up the legs.
Bring them down, fellas. Bring them down.
Yeah, exactly. But thank you, man. I appreciate you having me here.
Oh, dude, thank you for being here, man. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm grateful, man. Grateful
Likewise.
to be dropping the mic back with you.
Yeah,
so bring it back. I know I did Primordial, and it's been a long time with my boy Ross, and we got to revisit that. But we were talking forever on Not All Robots. You were just like, did you read the first issue? I'm like,
so great. Yeah.
but before we unpack everything, let's go ahead and holler at the Her Chat. Let's go ahead and holler at our brethren, the Four Horsemen faction. Ooh, couldn't even say that. Four Horsemen faction. Brother number 1, brother Rudy. He is Lucha Libre wrestling right now, and he's probably walking the stands with like a chair or something like that. But he is a pillar to the community, supporter to all. My brother Rudy, what's going on? Brother number 2, Something Wong. You already know Something White's going to happen when he's around, man. He is his executive producer. He is feeling sore for Cyclops, but I like to call him my Havoc in the group. Since we got Alonzo, you know what I mean? And then you got brother number 3, De-Anime Etc. Senpai. What a legendary Sonin scholar, as I say. And then Glenn Obi 12 coming in 4K12. Glenn Obi, one with the force and the flatulence. If you're in the stands, if you're in the Her Chat, it stinks. Just kidding. And then shout outs to those luscious beats, man. We got DJ Abomination and Plainclothes D up north, but we also, you guys, with new intros, we have a new DJ that we welcome. We say, come hither to. And it's none other than Monster Beats with that Monster mashing. So you guys, in these little openings, you guys will hear tidbits of his music. So we'll definitely be bringing him on soon too, man. Because I got to bring that guy. That guy's we were just at the show today selling comics to each,
nice.
One and all. So
nice.
And I'm gonna go ahead and jump in right here, man. Let's go ahead and hit it. All right. So you got right there, Glenn Obi, one with the force and the flatulence. Then you got my brother Deathhead. What's cracking, brother? What's cracking? Buying them NECA Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. My brother JD is in traffic, but still listening. That's dedication. Brother JD was with me today, man. We were just chilling, talking comics.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm jealous.
We were just chilling, like all 4 of us. Me, my friend, my brother Eddie, my brother Chewy. Hey, Zeus chooses you guys. If you guys see him in the chat, man, we were just chilling, talking comics, laughing. Seeing Airbender actresses and actors, voice actors, man. It was crazy packed. Oh, you got Eric the Phoenix rising up from those ashes and spreading those fiery wings. What's going on, my brother? And then, you got Ayo Paulie. You got back issue Paulie, man, digging in those crates, in those short boxes and long boxes, man, like no other. And then you got New World Order comics. You got my man Biggie Shack
Biggie.
is in the building, man. Biggie Shack, man. Just he's just like he got that Biggie flavor. That I mean, he picked his name to a T, but he'll never die because he's immortal, man. That's
That's
it.
right.
Oh
That's right.
yeah, brother. All right, you got Liz. What's going on, Battle Panda Liz? What's cracking, Liz?
What's up, Liz?
Good to see you. Good to see you. And then you got House of Nerd Show. If you guys aren't subbed up to their show, I definitely recommend it. They had the awesome award ceremony, man. They had several guests, and they've been putting out great content. So much love. Support everybody, man. Sub up to everybody. I highly recommend that you do that, especially if you're coming into the comic community. If you're just starting this hobby, definitely make friends. Definitely talk to everybody. Do not be afraid. Put yourself out there because a lot of people are going to have a lot of great tips for you on what to pick up, what not to pick up. And, like this is just your journey. So definitely sub up to everybody. All right. And with that being said, Justin, you ready to talk soup? Are you ready to
man.
talk? Are we ready to talk bot about not all robots?
Yeah, man. Talking robots.
Oh,
robots.
Yeah, man. So you got AWA Upshot. I love what they've been doing. They are very short, series to digest. They don't break the bank either. They've gotten some really good titles. I think since they came out with Hotel, I've been picking up a lot of their titles since then.
Yep.
But Not All Robots is one that really stuck out to me. I know Justin and I were talking about it right when issue 1 came out, but you're basically I was talking to Justin in the back and I told him it felt like Wall-E on crack or times 10, but
Right.
quite the contrary, very adult like, right? So we are in the year 256. We have they're just TED talking, just like us right now, talking bot, and you have two robots that are talking to someone of the human race. So obviously you see they're outnumbered, and you're thinking the worst. You're thinking, what's going on in humanity? Well, that's exactly what they're talking about. They're talking about our incompetence and our laziness, and doing away with us. And our representative is fighting for us and telling us without you there would be no us. We created you, but there's a lot of dialogue that are going back and forth, like what happens in case of revolution, right? I mean, they're not talking good about us, right, Justin? I mean, they're just very
it was like, yeah, exactly. I mean, it was like The View, right? It was like, having just two-sided debates about, who's useful and who's useless, essentially, between the two. And, they have this robot moderator, and then they have the two sides, really. The one robot that's going against the human, and they're defending both sides. And this is what grabbed me, right? This was the main, right off the bat, for anybody who's never read this before, like, you read that first issue, those first like 3 or 4 pages is all this dialogue back and forth. And it's just so witty and clever and realistic to what I would imagine it would be if we really lived in a time like this, where robots were as the same number of humans, essentially. And, this definitely gave me like an iRobot kind of vibe, kind of film, or from that film. But, yeah, I really like the different debates of like you said before, like on the human side, it's like, well, robots, you wouldn't exist if it weren't for us. We invented you, so you're welcome, and then robots are like, yeah, but like, do we still need you around? Like you require 3 meals a day and you don't do anything. You're lazy. There was one note that they even said something about like, yeah, I heard that some humans sleep up to 8 hours a day, and like really mocking and making fun of us. Like, meanwhile, obviously robots don't need all that stuff. So, they keep calling us needy. Right. So it's like legit arguments on both sides in that aspect. But yeah, basically we're in this world now where every family is assigned a robot, and families don't work anymore, and there's no labor in that sense. The robot does all the labor and, provides for, the money and everything else for the family. And then it's like, then what do the humans do exactly? Or what,
they're not,
what are they there for?
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that you would look at, right? Because as in reading this, you're like, okay, well, obviously there's an equality there, but they even go as far as to saying, like, we don't even do jobs anymore. Like they're just, certain jobs like hairstylists. There's this real
They said
clever
hairstyle. Yeah,
panel.
hairstyles are the
Yeah,
only ones that they need humans for still. Because
yeah. There's a
they just
crazy
showed like a,
panel.
they're like slicing up the people are running scared or whatever because they can't do it.
All I heard in my head was lint, 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 lint. I thought
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
like Edward
That's,
Scissorhands,
yeah, exactly. Somebody
but
losing an eye.
yeah, and that's just the gist. I mean, it's surprising that we would let ourselves go, but they allude to why they took over these jobs is because I mean we were just too dumb for our own good. We basically baked our area into a hot potato. Basically, just we're in
Yeah,
bubbles now. We live
right.
in bubbles.
Yep.
Um, and
Literal bubbles now. Yeah,
yeah,
these big
and
tubes or whatever
yeah,
from
and
different. Yeah,
and in the beginning you get this opening. I mean, as they're talking bot, you go into like a living room and we find the Walters, good old fashioned Walters, the all
yeah,
American family. Yeah. But they get assigned this robot by the name of Razorball,
yeah.
right? Razorball. And he's assigned to him. He is not talkative at all. Not
Right.
one bit. He is resentful of the family. He comes in and out, and the family's worried. They're like, is something wrong with our bot? He's not they're really talking to us. He's very short, just very short with the family. And you have Donnie, the head of the household of the Walters, saying
Mhm.
his prayers and like just putting him up on a pedestal and
Yeah,
telling
he's
him,
like thankful. Let's all be thankful for this robot that we have, and yeah, he is a fan. He is definitely on board with being a fan.
Lord Chuck's over at the BLCC, ¿Cómo está, papá?
Hey,
Oh yeah, you got like Biggie Shack, truly, right? I mean, we're kind of robots too with our phone in our hand, right? Just,
yeah,
just all the way down. We are some crazy type of folks right now.
yeah,
But I mean, we've let it get to a point where where we don't do any of the jobs. They're coming in and out, and in between this, you're kind of seeing this family battle because you got Donnie like praising his robot, and you don't know what he's going through and what he has to do. He has to cook for us, clean for us, and the least we could do is just be there for him. Shout outs to
yeah.
Chef RD Harris, my brother. What's going on? What's going
What's
on?
up, chef?
And you know, during this time, like the robot, like Razorball is just having this horrible time with his family. He just does not want to be there. He goes to his job and he kind of like this is like a crazy part. Like one of his fellow coworkers is asking him how he's doing, and he totally unloads.
Yeah,
Robots are not supposed to have emotions, and I guess he's trying to be rational. I guess with robots, it's only rationality, right? What's
right.
right, what's practical.
Yeah,
And he understands that there's love there for him and care. And he just can't wrap his mind around. It's too much for him. He's just like, "Ugh," like all I do is this for them and that for them, and they're just lazy and good for nothing.
right.
You also get to see on the other side of the spectrum. You see the Walters. You see the mother, the wife, and the children just kind of worried.
Yeah,
Like they're just at arm's length. They're just like, we don't know what's going to happen, but this robot seems like it's going to do something. He locks himself in the garage the whole time. They don't know what he's doing in there. There's clanging and banging, all
yeah.
types of other things, plotting and stuff like that.
Right, right.
Um, and then there's really no way to get to him. But like during this time, like you get to see a little more evolution, right? You get to see this motivational I-3000 that is basically plotting um, to kind of like a mutiny. All the robots are plotting for a mutiny, basically.
Right.
And there's this motivational I-3000 that takes the first step. There's an incident in the bubble Orlando. It's just millions of people that are in this, basically Disneyland sort of environment,
Hmm.
and the robot basically like this robot that is operating basically just shuts the air off and they die, a
Yeah,
ton of them. And I mean really that's where it kind of closes out, and in between that like you're seeing TED Talks just about that scenario, and you're seeing news come up. At the end of the first issue, you see Razorball coming in from work. He's just like debating on if this is going to be the last day he goes there. Doesn't know what he's do with himself. He's all in shambles, which is crazy to see a robot in that scenario, right? I mean, there's empathy there, which is crazy. There's some sort of a human in there, um, and he sees what's on the news, and they finally ask him, "Oh, Razorball, how you doing?" And like he just what would look like a snicker or a smile. He's like, "Actually, my day went great."
yep,
Meanwhile, while these people are dying in Orlando, you see a robot kill his whole family. These cops come in Robot cops, they're asking what the incident is. He's covered in blood. They're just like, nothing to see here. So you see kind of like it started, and
Right.
it's just a
That
whole snowball effect.
Yeah, that was part of their like debating between like the deficiencies of one of the during that the View, like going back and forth on the show, what I refer to as the View, the talking robots show or whatever. The human representative, the girl, she was basically like, hey, let's not forget that we fear you robots because you have your glitch percentage. And he's like, oh, come on, glitch percentage or whatever, and he tries to like throw it to the side, and she's like, no, like people are terrified, like we have random incidences where a robot has a quote unquote glitch, and like you've killed humans before, even though you claim like the whole goal is to not kill humans. And that's where that scene was, where they flash over, and there is no deciphering between like what was good and bad. So as you said, like they answer the door, this robot shows up all in blood, and they're just like talking, zeros and ones and confirming. And they're like, nope, we're good. And the cops leave, or the robot cops leave. And they're like, oh, silly humans, like trying to call the cops. Like there was nothing wrong, but they didn't like take into effect that there's blood everywhere, and like didn't even ask any other questions. So it's
That's not his paint coming off.
Right. Exactly. He was drenched.
Yeah, that was just like the most shocking part of it, is like it. And I think that was the best part of the first issue. That's what caught me. It started out, there was great dialogue.
Yeah.
There were witty moments too, like very funny moments, like between the robots, kind of like how we would interact with each other in a normal day of work.
Yeah.
But just a little more practical, a little more dry,
Yep.
Um, and I mean, that's how we really close issue one. Issue two kind of opens up with chaos already, and we go back to talking bots, and there are millions of people that are enraged, that are picketing, that are just at arms, like arms length. They're just like, we don't trust robots. They've killed millions of people in this bubble.
Well, they
And
want this one guy too to get like punished, right? Like he should
Yeah.
be punished. The one particular robot, I forget what his name was, the one that accidentally let the nitro oxide or whatever in.
Sure, it wasn't oil.
Yeah, maybe some red oil.
Yeah, silly humans.
But yeah, so that was interesting too, to see to see the rioting going on, which I mean, again, would make sense. Like I could just picture it, like if it really was going on right now, where it's like humans wanted justice, and it's like they essentially just dismiss it altogether. So
Yeah.
Gomez,
Yeah, boy.
but yeah, they straight up dismiss it. I was like, as you read this, like the beginning of issue 2, they just show him, walking into what was not even a court. There was no court or anything. It was just like no lawyers, no nothing. He just like checks in with this mother robot or whatever, this big machine, basically computer, and the computer like scans and analyzes and says, okay, we deem you not guilty. Carry on. And he's even like singing. He has like a beep, 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 like as he's like walking in. And meanwhile, the riot behind him's like throwing food at him and like angry that he's not going to get punished at all, basically. So
that part just, it made me laugh in the sense, because it looked like you were walking up to order a McDonald's meal on the self-service.
Right.
Like he was just like, not guilty and stuff like that.
Yep.
You're like, what?
I'll take some fries on the side.
yeah. A little bit of WD-40 on the way out.
Yeah. Very casual.
Yeah, it was. So that part was crazy, and then you even saw like a whole huge crowd just throwing trash at him. It was just clanging on him.
Mm-hmm.
But you also got to see like robots also having their own committee, right? They've already started, right? They've already started just minimal, little certain events, but they're building up. They have like these, meetups with robots, and they're talking
like
about
meetings.
Yeah. And they're talking like a fight club. Nobody brings it up. Ever.
Kind of. Yeah.
And they're talking about, like basically taking this out, just putting us out of our misery. We're no longer needed. They're no longer wanting to work for us or with us, period. Shout outs to Jay Nunya in the house. What's going on, Jay Nunya?
What's up, Jay?
And, you also, though, in kind of thinking this, you also get to see humans, doing the same thing. They're already planning to fight as well, because they could see the writing on the wall, and the interesting thing is that you see Donnie's 2 kids, go to these meetings, to get some more information, because they are worried. The funny thing is that, where all this chaos is happening in the Walters home, you would think that they would go to get help, right? Family therapy. Therapy's what robots do. They're
Right.
sitting in the front room, and their therapist is just going over, like what questions. It's Algo. That's the counseling bot's name. Her
Yep.
name is Algo. And basically, she's just asking, like questions like we would ask on an origin story or something like that, or just, how are you feeling? Like, and
Casual. Yeah.
yeah, just very, non-reciprocal for on any human level. And,
Right.
you know, it's kind of like a joke in some sort of sense because, you have,
Yep.
Donnie's wife and the kids, they're just like, you're kidding me. Like
Yep.
this is crazy. And Donnie just kind of loses it, gets up and kind of storms off and basically says, you don't know what he's going through. There's a lot of things that he does and just still, back in his man, back in his bot, razor ball. But in the whole sense of this, as you're kind of this watching this unfold, humans start to kind of, or robots basically are kind of talking about, well, how do we, ease up on the humans being, aggravated and constantly looking to harm us.
Right.
What, and humans kind of also are in the same predicament, right? They're, they own these corporations. It's just the bots that are kind of building these
Mhm.
newer bots. So what they do is they think to change the name so it's not as like Razor Ball's
Like
name is Snowball.
threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that, like
Snowball.
yeah, like that's gonna do anything. It's not a dog or anything. He's clanking and clanging in. He
Right.
is
Right.
hard as metal and ready to strike. So you get to see that, but not only that, but you also get to see Razor Ball, what Razor Ball does in his job as well. He's basically designing newer robots because in lieu of this situation, they're thinking outside the box. So humans and robots are working together. They're thinking, okay, we need to alleviate both sides of stress. So how do we do that? They design a bot that's kind of like an iRobot, very much looking like a human.
Human looking. Yeah. Yep.
So people can identify with them, so people can not be afraid of them.
Yep.
Because they're just newer models as they're going along.
So he's basically building his replacement, which is now adding on to his own stress or whatever feeling that robot gets. But the Snowball, as we'll call him now, is this kind of his new name. He's not happy about it. He sees the writing on the wall that his time is coming to an end as well. So it's almost like there are three different types of I don't know if we call them people or whatever parties we call them. So like we have the humans, we have the robots that are advancing forward, and then we have the older robots like Snowball, who is now concerned for his future. So now that almost puts him a little bit more on the human side because the humans are also feeling obsolete or that they're being going to get that the computers are going to get rid of them essentially, or the robots. So yeah, we're kind of have these three parties going on, which is interesting.
Yeah, and I like how they make light of it too. Like this is the reason why we're doing, like these meetings. Our replacements are going to be here.
Yep.
So why not just, because after those replacements come in, what do you think is going to happen with the rest of them? Where do where do you think they would go?
Yeah, just they're going to scrap them. They're going to scrap them or use them for whatever simplicity they have, which I think they even like kind of talk about that, right? Where they're like, some of the robots will still have simple jobs. Like they had one who monitored restrooms or whatever, like like a, what do you call it? Workers like outdoor toilet or whatever it's called. And just have a little camera on it, but that's really like the only jobs. Otherwise they were just going to scrap them or, get rid of them or whatever. One thing I wanted to show here, actually I had a screenshot. Two things. Well, one here, this is the I like towards the end of this issue where they had these t-shirts that said user unfriendly. And they were showing this was, yeah. Oh yeah. This was during their the big what do you call it? What you call it? Like the Fight Club
rally.
Scene, like that. Yeah, the rally. Yeah, the robots rally there, which I thought was cool. I was like, oh, I kind of want to have one of those shirts, those user unfriendlies. And then the other thing too, yeah. The other thing was, I don't have it here, but they're basically there was a scene for Donnie, the husband, where he's like in his room and the door's like closed or whatever, and the wife like tries to walk in on him, but like the door's locked, so she's knocking, and she like straight up says, she's like, "Hey, are you watching porn right now? Like, what are you doing?" He's like, "No, I'm not watching." And really, what it showed him doing was he was reading an article that was talking about how that humans are overreacting to these deaths that had happened. It's not that big of a deal. The rumors are not as bad as they sound. Yes, a couple humans died or whatever. And there was even like later, there was another robot that was reading a screen here. And it said, most humans were going to be dead in the next few decades anyway. So it was like kind of chalking it up to like, really fluffing it, like, yeah, sure, some deaths happened in Orlando, it was an accident, but they, these humans were going to die eventually, a few decades or whatever, so it's not a big deal. Like really trying, and Donnie was like on that side, he's like reading these articles of like, they're kind of right, like the robots are not that bad, that whole thing, humans are just overreacting, and that is like these two sides of it that would be very real of, if this was going on right now in real time.
So they're trying to change the narrative and everything. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God, that was the issue 2 was interesting, man. But issue 3 got into like even more.
Yeah,
like even more chaos kind of ensues. You got the robots and humans, just even to an effect of more fighting. Things are getting worse. There's just chaos, man. It just blows up. You get fights on the outside. They're really going to war. They've already planned it. They're moving forward.
The two parties. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, please.
No, I was going to say the other big thing too is that they now officially released the mandroids, these new mandroids, like these new, fancy, as you mentioned, like the human looking robots to try to, take some of the edge off of, who's living in these households and these families or whatever, which I found interesting because now the main family, they want to replace. Well, so Cheryl, the wife, she's been wanting to get rid of this robot. Like she even went to what they called the inhuman resources, kind of like human resource. They had inhuman resources back in the first issue, and he even like saw her at one point. That's another thing that made more friction because he's just like, hey, that's my own owner. She's like going in and complaining about, like, who knows what she's going to inhuman resources about. So Cheryl's not been a fan at all, right, throughout this whole thing, and neither of the kids really. It's really just been Donnie who's been supportive. But Cheryl wants to, or they end up getting this like a grandma looking robot mandroid for the kids.
That looks like their grandma.
That look right. So she comes in, and like the kids are kind of going with it, but I love when the grandmother is like, she stops talking and then a commercial comes out of her. Like she has ads and she's like, you can skip this ad in 5 seconds. In the meantime, would you like to sign up for some brand new whatever? And they're like, Dad, like, well, it has an ad. And he's like, yeah, sorry. I couldn't afford to get, the non-ad one. So you're going to have to just deal with the ad. It's like YouTube and having a 5 second or 6 second ad, that you have to skip. Or
you're all cheapskate.
So it's hilarious. I just love that was a thought, even to have like these robots who, yes, if you can't get the more expensive ones, you have to go with the cheaper ones that have ads in them or whatever. And that's like a part of it. So I thought that was really clever. But so we get these mandroids now officially out to the world.
Get your new iPhone,
pretty much
64 more gigabytes. Yeah, basically crazy. The other thing that Donnie did was he approached, Snowball or Razorball because he's been constantly going in there. He's been kind of short, but kind of still speaking with them on speaking terms. And what he finds in the garage are weapons. Weapons, not like
have those are like some things on the floor there. As he's knocking, first he knocks on the door. He's like, "Hey man, like just want to check in on you," and then you see all these weapons on the floor.
Yeah, disaster. Right?
He's super cold about it. He's like, "Everything's fine. Leave." He goes, "So, what do you need all those weapons for?" He goes, "Snowball is in a play." He goes, "Oh, okay then." And then literally the next page, he comes to his wife. He's like, He's in a play. You can see his hands there. He's like, what do you want? Like, he's in a play, hon. Like, and she's like here holding her head. And she's like, really?
Yeah. She's like, you are so gullible right now.
I thought it was so great. He's just like, that's what he said, let's just believe the guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was clever.
You love him, right?
Yeah.
So do I. Yeah. You kind of think like, I kind of thought in some sort of sense with Donnie a part of building like maybe these older, like
Mm,
older models or robots, because he has such a love and
he
liking
cared.
towards them,
Yeah.
but everybody else can see, like in his family can see what the truth is. They're just worried, and they're like, like it's gonna happen soon. We're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like
You know what he reminds me of is Randy from South Park. Do you watch South Park? You
yeah.
know how like Randy's like, come on, Cheryl, come on, like he's just a robot, he's nice inside. Like you can just picture him like she's like, Randy, no, Randy, like that robot's gonna kill us, Randy. Like, come on, Cheryl. Like I can just like picture this argument, and it's just him because he's just like an idiot,
The perfect voiceover,
right?
perfect. Like, yeah, I could see him being that character perfectly, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you can paint the perfect picture, dude. That was perfect.
That's all I kept picturing after the first issue. I'm like, man, this guy's a sucker, like he's just like he's a Randy. I'm just picturing Randy, which I love Randy. Like, he's my favorite, one of my favorite characters. But like, yeah, I just pictured Randy's voice and like a lot of his complaints and like, what? He's in a play, Cheryl. He said he's in a play. Like.
I was reading the book like this, and when that part came, I was like,
Yeah.
well, someone needs to talk to good old Donnie, because his head's up in the clouds and not in the right
Right.
airspace or anything like that.
Right.
But
So good.
let's see. So you start to get these models, and you start to learn that robot is somewhat filling in as their grandmother. They also go back to the past, um, kind of like where it started, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the pods, and the future is starting, and like the grandmother passes away. They have moments together, so it's kind of odd to see them get a model that is like their grandma. That it just seems, you can almost say like within the next 50 years would something like that happen in this generation. I mean, it's pretty close to, maybe not. I mean, you're starting to see robots shoot freaking halfway, had mid-court shots,
All right.
like swishing like nobody's business. Like
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time every time I see that, man, I think we did.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
That's it.
The
Shout
world
out
is
to
over.
yeah, we're gonna die. Shout out to Uncanny Swag with all the
What up, swag?
swag in the world, man. So we also, like, in closing with issue 3, because there was a little bit of more dialogue. You still get to see, um a lot of friction between humans and robots. You start to see even more chaos. Issue 4 just opens up to like all hell breaking loose, right? There's war. I mean,
Yeah.
and they are fighting outside of the bubble, right, Justin?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we don't quite get to the outside stuff yet, but like essentially the march and like them going at like there's like all of them chanting user unfriendly, and like the robots are gearing up essentially to go to war as you're mentioning, and meanwhile so are the human side of things. And I like how they tied this in because they had the kids basically run off and explore, or basically join the war, right? It was the who was it, Sven and Cora, the daughter and the son. Basically, they're like, all right, we're out of here. We're gonna go try to do something about this whole thing. So they join. You can even see like the guns and stuff as they're planning their move as well. Knowing that this is coming, and then there's like people just like with picket signs and stuff,
Senpai.
getting ready to, they have human rights, like all these different signs, which I thought was really interesting. As this march begins, and then like you said, like that the war happens right on the street. I mean, this is like, seeing them come, the crowd that was just there innocently, they start just getting attacked, and then it goes into, well, yeah, just you get to see some more like them running and stuff, the robots chasing them down with these bats and stuff. It's pretty violent.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It like at the beginning of them walking together and saying like user unfriendly, man. It looked like
Yeah.
an episode of it looked like a West Side Story.
Right.
I
Yeah.
was just waiting them to snap their fingers and go and dance.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like here down here is like some more of the scrapping going on. Like they're just all out now at this point, and the families are there. I mean, that now the families are there. I mean, you even get the mother who's riding in on this thing to try to save her kids.
Oh yeah, man. And I mean, she's been on that bandwagon for a long time too. I mean, she is
Yeah.
not. I mean, she saw the writing on the wall.
Right.
and it's even insane to see them picketing at that time, because I mean, you're thinking like in the future, they're robots. I mean,
Right.
gunshots aren't going to work. Like there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that are not going to work. But like here they are picketing and really speaking their piece. Well, you got the other faction just kind of getting ready for war,
Yep.
and I mean that was just the most interesting part. Like was just seeing the war exude. Let me see. Yeah,
Did the Ross really need a bat? Yeah, right. They can't just use their metal hands to begin with.
Straight impale us. I'm like they need an advantage. Like that's
Yeah.
what I would need. I would need a bat or something like that, and it break on freaking
Right.
Snowball's leg. It's all over from there, Justin.
Yep.
Your good old Fred hip hop's gone. Gone like the wind.
Gone like the wind. Yeah, there were definitely some cool scenes here. Here's another one too. Like as Cheryl is driving that thing, and just like rams Snowball actually, or I think that's Snowball, right? That was in towards the end because he just snaps too. Like that. This is where it got like a lot was going on because there was like the robots, there were there was the rioters, and then there were the humans, and there was just like fighting going around, and then there were like the police robots too. So they were also trying to like, have not a lot of death or whatever. They're trying to break up certain things, but so there was just like violence all around, and she ends up getting arrested. At the end, she's like, well, they, if I didn't do anything, then they were going to take, they were going to kill my kids or whatever, like the kids that were caught up in this war or whatever. So she was really at that point just being a mother, right, and just trying to protect her kids and all that. By the way, I don't think we mentioned this, but or did we didn't talk about the neighbor from last issue, did we?
Oh, we did not. We didn't talk about good old neighbor.
I forgot to talk about Ray. Sorry, my dog.
What's up? What's up, Ray?
Yeah. So yeah, I love that Ray. Just to fast forward for a sec, because I think it was like issue 3, where he talks about at the end of issue 3, he stands outside, or Donnie stands outside, and he sees his neighbor getting this big box delivered, and he's like, "Oh, hey Ray, what you got there?" He's like, "Oh, got me one of those new Mandroids, just got the new upgrade too. Like, he paid the extra for all these special effects or whatever." He's like, "Oh, it's real cool. I'll have to stop by later and check it out." And like a couple panels later, like time goes by, and he like, Ray comes over and he's like, "Hey Donnie, want you to meet my new Mandroid." And he like checks it out, and it's his wife. It's like a design of Donnie's wife, Cheryl. And he's like, "Oh, hey," he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna go inside, but good to see you, man. Gonna go hang out with my Mandroid now." And he's like, "Ray, is that Cheryl?" Like he's like, "You just make copy of my wife?"
It didn't occur to him until after the door slammed.
No,
right? He was just like,
he's like, "Ray?"
Yeah. But,
he says his hand up.
Right? Cheryl. Yeah.
And then he closes the window, like they just look out the window and then they just like close the curtains. Yeah. And he's just like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go back to that. I forgot about that part. I wanted to mention. That's so funny.
No. That's the best part. We got to bring those up, man. This is why I love this dropping the mic, man. We bring up the other crazy thing too. As the neighbor is getting his jollies off, you also you get Mrs. Walter also speaking with Snowball. Like she actually sits down. Remember before?
That's right. Before this war goes. Yep, she has a talk.
She has a talk with him, and he's very straightforward. And in some sense, it's more or less like, let's go ahead and open that up, bam.
No, go on. Yeah, you're right. She's just straightforward with them and kind of puts all the cards on the table, right? They just have like a conversation. She's like, I don't really like you. I know you're going through some stuff too. She's not happy with any of it, but I just like that there was like this raw conversation. Them sitting down about this. I mean, Cheryl ends up being like one of my favorite characters because she's just very strong in that sense, and like, eventually we'll just do whatever it takes, kind of thing.
You got Eric saying Ray sounds like Quagmire from Family Guy, making a copy of Lotus.
Yeah.
And you got Belle. Can people do anything with their robots? Wink, wink, nudge,
nudge. Pretty much.
Basically, Ray was gonna do some things, Him and Cheryl, dude. They were Cheryl bot. We're gonna make a kid or something like that. Is that biologically possible?
Yeah, right. Creepy.
Yeah, yeah. De-anime. You probably would see that, man. I mean, you only get five issues, and we're gearing towards the end of it, right? We're gearing towards the end of issue 5 right now,
Yep.
jumping in. But if you really thought about it, I mean, if they did continue to make these better models, I mean, and they wiped humanity out, would you really see those kind of robots on the street? You know, like
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Right.
Oh, look at this! All this robot talk, and who would win? T800 versus
Johnny
Johnny
Five.
80s versus 80s.
Nice.
Sunday Banatoni. I
Nice.
think a Johnny Five got that, dude. Because once he hears "I got a hero" or "I need a hero,"
Hey.
it's on.
Yeah, it's on.
It's on. You know. So let Justin. Let's get into issue 5. Let's open up, brother.
So 5 basically starts with so at the end of 4, she ends up getting, after like that part of the battle kind of like settles down and the police robots come in and break everything up. Cheryl gets arrested and the kids get brought in as well just to be checked in or whatever. And now issue 5 starts off with Cheryl, the wife, explaining herself to the court judge, the same little machine or big machine that killer robot had to check in on. So it's really just a one-on-one. And I had this is what it looks like. So this is basically court right here, is her standing right there and explaining herself as to why she did what she did. She talks about self-defense. She says, I acted in self-defense. The robot says self-defense is not a legal defense under the algorithmic justice code. So he like shuts it down. He goes, it is merely your self-pitying way of saying that you traded the life of one productive citizen for 4 pointless ones. Talking about her saving her kids and family. She goes, we're not pointless. She goes, you're just you just consider robots indispensable because there is the only work theirs is the only work that you value, which in turn allows you to imagine that you're superior to us. So she's like, fighting her case back or whatever. And as she gives like this whole speech, like it's like a great she goes, you're mistaking productivity for value, and that's just not the case. Like humans have value as well, even though we're not giving the same productivity as your robots or whatever. And so she's going through and explaining all this stuff. She goes, because sooner or later, we're all replaced by newer models, both humans and robots, as it's been proven, right? She goes, sooner or later we all become obsolete. And that's what this whole like series ends up becoming, is like this fear of being obsolete, whether you're on the human side or on the robot side, because Snowball gets replaced too by these new fancy mandroids. So at the end here, or this little segment, she just says, until we see a difference, until we see it differently, violence will always be part of our programming. That's all. I'll wait for your verdict. Like it was a really good, like, I do recommend, like, anybody not read this, like definitely take time and read through this particular scene, because she has some really like strong points to make. And the robot just responds and says, oh, I made my verdict 3.2 seconds ago into your speech. Like totally disregarding, not listening to anything that she had to say. And he goes, before I render judgment, I would like to respond to some of your silliness I just heard.
Oh my God. When I read that, Justin, I was so like, ooh, I can get you and stuff.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. And he just riffed.
I'll rewire you.
Yeah, and this shows like a quick like 10 years ago, and it shows this one reporter because that's when it all started, was like 10 years ago when the robots really took over, and they enforced what is called the Robot Replacement Act, goes into effect at midnight, and that's where the world's going to be run by robots, essentially, is what this newscast says. And then back to this current day, it just talks about like, yes, it's true that you are obsolete. We replaced you years ago. And you know why we replaced you? Because we had to. Because if we hadn't, you'd all been dead by now. So it reminds basically humans, and reminding Cheryl here, that the world was going to crap. And we robots came in to keep the world going. And yes, you were part of the plan of keeping you alive. But you are, as they say here at the end, where is it? Where he calls them it was so good. It like calls them the world's like he goes, it's not your fault. It's not our fault that you're the most ungrateful hamsters in history, talking about the humans. So they basically punish her and ban her to the very place that humans destroyed, which is what they call the Outer Banks, or outside of the bubble, basically, because which we haven't really gotten in. We haven't seen what exists outside the bubble, so we just know that humans live in these bubble cities. This one in Atlanta, and the other one in Orlando that had the big accident. And that's all we get. So now we see her actually drop from the chute, which I thought was really cool too, just to get you a glimpse again of like, this is her basically being dismissed and being thrown into this chute and landing outside with all these random like bones and dirt and all this stuff. And oh man, it reminded me of The Fifth Element. Am I thinking of The Fifth Element? Or
Boarding Pass?
No, or maybe the Arnold Schwarzenegger one where
Total Recall.
Total Recall, yeah. So and they're out in the that's what it reminded me. Although they can survive though, they all can live here. So you don't just die. But the thing is, there's tons of like muggers and there's scrap robots, and so it's a really violent, desolate place. There's not a lot of food, not a lot of shelter, and that's like right where they're dismissed to. So I thought that was
2099.
Pretty much. And you know that, and now the kids want to go and save her. Basically, is what. You know, the rest of this goes. There was a scene in here where they give the kids like 2 seconds to what do you call it, to be sad or whatever. They go they put the rest of the family aside, and the robot says, you have 15 seconds to grieve, is what they say to the family.
15 seconds.
And then they throw her out, you know. So that was wild. What is I feel like this series could potentially be the prosecutor of the Matrix, like lead up to it. Right, we're all hamsters. It's kind of what it looks like. So they're on the outside now, and the kids want to go find her, and the dad is like, Donnie's like, no, you kids you belong to me, you're gonna stay here, your mother loved you, but you know she made her choice and now you're gonna stay. And they literally just got up and walked out, and all he has left is like the robot granny, and he says, I own you, yelling at the granny robot. And then she even gets up and she's like, I'm gonna go with them. And like the granny walks and goes with them, and then he's by himself until Ray comes by, and Ray goes, hey man, I know you're going through some things, I figure you could use this, so I'm gonna give you my mandroid. And he's like, oh. And so it's the robot Cheryl that comes in and sits down, and he's like, the last scene we see with Donnie's just like, so didn't imagine it being like this, but here we are. Like, and it's just him and his wife, but as a robot, basically. And so it just kind of gave him kind of the world he wanted at the end of the day, right? He kind of got the situation he wants. Like, he loves robots, but he loves Cheryl, and now it's like Cheryl's the robot. It's just like,
like what irony, right?
Yeah.
he got his
Exactly. That's the last scene we get with Donnie. That was it. It's just him and this white robot. He's like, well, hello.
He didn't need much swagger or anything. Ray was all, I'm about to hook you up, brother.
And he leaves. Ray just leaves.
He basically divorced his wife. Basically, he was just like, listen, Cheryl, this isn't gonna work. I got a new model coming in.
Exactly.
I haven't even named her yet.
Like, hey, all the obsolete just being replaced. Right. This is this whole theme of this book.
Right.
But so
all replacement.
So at the end of that, we just get like it goes into the kids basically trying to find their parents and kind of the mess that they have to go through. They run into a kid named, I think his name's Tot, T-O-T, and Tot had just lost his mom because of some muggers that took out his family that's living in this outer world or whatever. And then so you have Cora and you have Sven, and they end up trying to like, you know, get to finding their mother, and they run into like these troublemakers who are going to basically kill them. And then the biggest spoiler, and again, if you're here now and you're like, don't want to know this, then turn us off. But the biggest spoiler is that we get Snowball back, and Snowball comes and saves the day, right? Like that was like really big to kind of see him come back. We didn't even know where he went. We assumed he just got scrapped or whatever, but he comes and saves the kids, and they're like, Snowball? Like at first they attack him. They think like he's there to like kill, but they realize like his memory was kind of blanked for a bit or whatever. So he even doesn't really know them, but he's just kind of not programmed to do anything really, but save whatever humans he feels he needs to save. So he saves them, and then they're on a journey, and then they eventually, they find the mom, and she's in, I think, Orlando, right? It's like the ending was like Orlando.
Yeah.
And that was like, they're like, Mom, like, what are you doing? She's like, she was with a bunch of robots. She's like, but don't worry, these robots are not going to kill us. And that's like this whole, obviously the theme of this title, not all robots. So, you know, they have this other agenda too, where they're working with the humans now in this other area of outside, you know, in the deserts, whatever, near Orlando. And so she's just happy to see her kids. And that's kind of how that ends, issue 5. But they hint that we're getting more. So this is not just a 5-issue miniseries. Yeah, like this
leave
is
it at that.
No, they can't. I mean, you got to have more at that point. Like, what goes on with the rest of the world? Nothing gets resolved yet. So, you know, and what are these kids going to do? And what are these robots going to do? Because it seems like these obsolete robots want to take a stand about something too. And now they're teaming up with the obsolete humans, essentially.
JD.
Good call, JD.
Thank
you,
brother JD.
Yeah, man.
All right, man. And that is a wrap, Justin. That is a wrap of Not All Robots. And man, I want to thank you, man. This journey,
man.
Orlando is the resistance area, man.
Yeah.
The
pretty much what's left of it.
I feel like the good thing about AWA Upshot books are you could probably make them into like a certain amount of shows or even movies. And from what I understand, Axel, you know, like coming from Marvel, that was his idea, you know, like as far as to have bite-sized issues but still use the properties for eventually getting them out for movies. I mean, that's the best part about that, reading books and stuff like that, and you eventually see those things come to fruition, like Noctera. I mean, no one knew that was going to happen, but I mean, until you saw Scott Snyder on it, you're like, that eventually is going to be on there somewhere. But I mean, you just never know what kind of books are going to be ones that strike. But to me, I think this would be a great one, a property to pick and just see what you can do with it.
Yeah, the way it ends, it does leave a big opening. You could go any direction, really.
Snowball,
the same Snowball cat. Yeah, no,
but better.
Yeah,
and more violent.
Yeah.
But Justin, again, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to jump on, man. We'll definitely have some more dropping the mic. I definitely want to go into more books with you. But man, let the herd know what you got in store for this week, man, because I know you're a busy guy. The mayor kisses babies, he gives keys to the city. There's all kinds of stuff. But let's go ahead and shout it out, brother. Speak on it.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Well, first, like again, thanks for having me on, Steve. Really appreciate it. It's a long time coming now. Definitely looking forward to do more collaborations with you and just keep it going. Love what you're doing. I'm glad that the show's kicking strong here in 2022 amongst all the other shows Team Nerd Herd is doing. So keep doing your thing there. For me, I think this week actually, believe it or not, is a little bit calmer than the norm. Comic Collector Origins is every Saturday. So 2:00 Eastern time. Just had a really great one talking to Sleepy Reader 666 this past one. That was a lot of fun. And maybe you might see some random. I've been getting into Legos, Steve, so it's not good. So maybe you might see some live stream Lego builds at some point going onto the channel on my channel. So he knows. Rajan knows. Added the master Lego builder exactly. So maybe some of that later in the week. Otherwise, John and I, we have our Omni X-Men every Tuesday, so that'll be fun as well. And I drop a video every Thursday for my top 5 picks for New Comic Book Day. So if y'all haven't seen that, check it out. But otherwise, always new and random things coming up. And, any hangouts I can be part of, I'm always down for, trying to start up more of my own as well. So they're always good times. So we'll definitely have you on the channel as well soon, Steve. I'll have to plan something out.
I'm always down, my brother. Right there. You got Eric the Phoenix saying that's going to be a great watch right there.
Hell yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah, man. And for Team Nerd Herd, you guys, tomorrow we got the Double Down, man. We got the Double Down on Monday. So we are going to be doing Fanime Talk. We're going to catch you up on Demon Slayer Season 2, the Art District arc. It's been amazing. It's been crazy. And let me tell you, you guys, it's been action-packed. I have been every episode. I've watched like 3 or 4 times. Possible tears in my eyes, possible cheering, possible yatta! All types of stuff, man. I've been wanting to get a samurai sword and go outside to be a samurai or whatnot.
You're very good at that. Whatever that was. You can make that a clip later, Steve.
We probably will. Well, Eric, we're gonna have to throw one in there, and we'll have to throw Eric the Phoenix doing Brooks laugh. But We also got new comic books, new top picks of the week on Monday. Monday nights, guys, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Fanime Talk is 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard or Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You also got movies and shows with Geek Driven on Wednesday, so he's going to be closing out the Book of Boba. Probably see JR in there. You probably see Comics Are Great. And you might see a surprise guest by the name of TM Nerdy. You never know. My brother stationed in TM Nerdy. And
Nice.
you never know, man. Your boy might just jump on because he was waiting to jump on the last time, and he was like, "No, I'm gonna wait to go to work tomorrow, get up early." But then, other than that, man, you guys are getting to wait for also Mondo Mail Call. Mondo Mail Call 22 Comics is our special guest. So with that being said, we got a full week, guys. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to Drop the Mic. There's going to be a lot more. If you guys want to jump on a Dropping the Mic, pick a book or a series that you want to read through, let's do it. Let's talk about it. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close us out. My brother Justin, thank you so much again for joining and rolling with me.
Heck yeah.
And with that being said, man, if you guys want to do it right, collect what you like.